Okay, that's very good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you are joining us, this is Reformed Niger Television, and for our broadcast today, we have Pastor Taiye Arimoro. Pastor Taiye Arimoro is still going to share with us. He's going to introduce himself properly, but perhaps I should just say that Pastor Taiye Arimoro is a pastor with Crown Reformed Assembly. Crown Reform Assembly is also going to tell us about the church. Crown Reform Assembly is a local assembly in Ogba, Lagos State. And it's, well, like I said, he will tell us more about the church. Okay, so Pastor Taiye Arimoro today is going to be telling us the testimony of his life, how he came to know the Lord, and a couple of other very interesting things about him, and even how he became a Reformed Christian, a Reformed minister. So those are a few things that are going to happen in a few moments. Okay. So I want to first of all thank you for joining this discussion. I'd hope that we can go live, but I'm having some serious technicalities. So what you're going to have right now is a recorded version, and hopefully you can get to watch it in a few hours after we're done with this discussion. This discussion is holding on Saturday, 20th of February, 2021. So, sir, Pastor Taiye and Pastor Arimoro, I want to welcome you to Reform Niger Television, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to your platform to share my testimony.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, please, can you kindly tell us, before you're a pastor, even before you're a Christian, you were somebody, so can you tell us who Taiye Arimoro is, probably a little about your background and family life, Nigeria, anything that you think might be a very good introduction to this subject, sir?
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. Like it's been said, my name is Taiye Arimoro. I'm from Osun State. I guess I'm from the same town as Brother Deji is. I'm from Elisha.
Oh, praise the Lord.
Yes, sir. I'm from Elisha, and by God's grace, I'll be 54 this March. I'm married to a wonderful lady who loves the Lord. We have two wonderful children who also are passionate about God. And for this, we're very grateful to God. What else? Right now, I'm bivocational. Like it's been said, I serve as an elder at Crown Reform Assembly in Ikeja, Lagos. I also do business. I'm trained as an electrical engineer from Bayero University, Kano. What else? I'm an alumni of Yaba College of Technology.
All right, excellent.
Baptist Academy, Ibobi College, all from Lagos.
Excellent, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for that introduction. It's very possible that if there's anything else about the background that we missed, we may be able to still incorporate it into the broadcast. Right now, I want to, because you see, this channel, we are interested about the gospel, we're interested about churches. I've come to understand that churches are one of God's primary ways of reaching the world with the gospel. So, sir, please, can you tell us about Crown Reformed Assembly, probably how it was birthed, where the church is right now, and then along the line, please give us address of the church and possibly even the website of the church. So in case of anybody who sees this interview and might want to be involved with it.
Crown Reformed Assembly is a Reformed evangelical church. It's located at number 23, Acme Road in Ikeja, Lagos. We're a church that is grounded in the 1689 Baptist Confession of Faith. And by that, I mean that we subscribe to all the doctrinal distinctive as stated in the Baptist Expression of Faith of 1689. We subscribe to the doctrines of grace, justification, that is by faith alone, in Christ alone. We believe in the effectual calling of the believer. So it's a church that basically believes in the 1689 expression of Spirit of the Baptist Convention. Like we said, we meet at 23 Acme Road in Ikeja. Our Sunday's worship services starts by 9. You also get stream online for those who cannot be physically present due to COVID complications or logistical problem. We also have interactive Bible studies every Thursday. It's usually virtual by 7 p.m. And we have a functional website that we can visit for more information about the church. It's www.crownreformed.org. www.crownreformed.org. As to how the church, okay, let me allow you.
No, please go ahead, sir. The interview has started in earnest, how the church was birthed and so on.
So as to how the church started, the church, initially started out as a Pentecostal church, actually. A Pentecostal church that was well steeped in the word of faith and the prosperity gospel. The church then was started by Yomi Adegboye. He was the pioneer pastor of this church until sometime around 2001, I believe. The Lord began to deal with him about the errors and the discrepancies of the word of faith doctrines. This led him and the then leadership of the church to a public repentance and a recount of all the prosperity and the Pentecostal messages that the church had stood for and had been preaching prior to that time. Since then, the church had changed her identity multiple times, and today, by the grace of God, she has fully embraced a more gospel-centered, Christ-centered theology as preached by the reformers.
Okay, excellent, sir. Thank you very much for that introduction. All right, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps I should say that since we started the Reformed Niger television, we have tried more or less to have, for example, the first few of our broadcasts have been on teaching messages on sufficiency of scriptures. And then we've had some brothers who are pastors of SGBC come to share with us about sufficiency of scriptures in decision making and so on. But this is the first time that we're going to have a full-fledged program that is committed to a brother coming to share his story, his testimony with us. Our brother has talked about how the Crown Reformed Assembly itself started, how a minister by the name of Yomi pioneered the work, but then and they went from a full-fledged Pentecostal charismatic church to a Reformed Assembly. The same thing happened to our brother also in his life. He's going to tell us about it in a few moments. But probably, and I personally, of all the people who claim to be reformed in a sense in Nigeria, I personally do not think that anybody has such a moving testimony as Pastor Arimoro. So I'm really trusting God that he's going to touch on that in this broadcast. But before we do that, sir, can you tell us a little, because in this kind of broadcast also, when we have new people come online, we want to tell them how we came to know the Lord, to inspire people who either are not born again and are hoping to have a relationship with the Lord, or to help people who don't have a strong, solid walk with Christ to deepen their roots in the Lord. So, sir, please can you share with us how you came to know the Lord Jesus Christ, how you were born again?
Thank you very much, Brother TG. It's been a long and interesting journey for me. Should I say that I was blessed by God, very fortunate to have been introduced to the gospel at an early age. I was in secondary school when I first heard the gospel preached. And in those days, really, without really understanding what salvation is all about, we all come out to answer what then is referred to as an altar call. Yes. So I think I started answering the altar call when I was in class 1. That was way back, late 70s, early 80s, in Baptist Academy. Then you will hear these messages preached when the picture of hell and you burning in it forever is being, stressed. You have no choice but to just come out and commit your life to God. So those days, salvation prayers, were made. It was as a result of of the fear of hell rather than the personal conviction of sin and the need for God. So I think that's what it all started for me. And sometime I think in 84, in 1984, I was in my final year then. I was in class 5. I think that was when I would say I truly understood the concept of salvation. That would be the time I would say that, I understood my need for a savior. Some brethren had come in from Unilag to our school to preach. And then I gave my life to Christ. It was in 84 actually that uh, my romance with Pentecostalism really started. Um, Immediately after my conversion in 84, I was, introduced straight to Word of Faith literatures, and I began to consume them. In 2 years of my conversion, from 84, I had consumed so much of Hagin books, Kenyan books, and I began to follow all these, acclaimed world faith teachers, Copeland, Cirillo, Duplantis, Jerry Savelle, and many others like that. I just became an addict, consumer of these faith literatures. And Brother J, I'm sure if you remember, around this time in the early 80s, there was, an ongoing serious movement, particularly, sweeping our campuses, in Nigeria. That was a big upshot of Pentecostal movement then, in our schools. And, within a short while, I had developed a network of friends, Unilag, uh, that time also my brother who was at University of Ife had gotten born again, so it was so easy for me to have friends in Lagos, Ife, who had become born again. And there used to be also at that time there used to be this summer campus Christian fellowship that used to take place, during every summer at Baptist Academy then, where brethren from uh, many of these high institutions will come together, just to rub shoulders and everybody trying to show off and demonstrate some, new revelation knowledge and all that. So this was where, my journey into Pentecostalism, really started. And I began to rub shoulders with these, senior friends of mine in the university. So much so that by the time I finished at Baptist Academy and went on to do my A-levels at the Igbobi College, I was already, a key speaker. I was already mastering the arts, and the antics, the, practices of this.
Baptist Academy is Lagos, right?
Yeah, Baptist Academy is at Obanikoro in Lagos. Yes.
Okay, and then Igbobi College is Lagos also.
Yeah, it's also in Lagos.
Okay, but you said something about schooling in Kano.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think that's your university days, sir.
Yes, that was my university program.
Oh, okay, sir. All right. Yes. So can you, because now I think we've moved from secondary school days, A-level, and now yes, we'll now probably look at, can you tell us about your university life, your university life, religion around your university life, and then particularly how you joined this particular ministry in Kano, which brought you into pastoral ministry, sir?
Yeah. Well, by the time I got to Kano, I had, developed, I had network of friends.
Yeah,
Getting to
sorry, sir.
Kano,
So sorry for interrupting you. What year did you get Kano? About what year, sir?
I got to Kano, to university. I think that was 19. Was 1989, 1990.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Please just go ahead because we have a time lag of 80, 81, 83 earlier from what you told us. So now we're now in 89, 90.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes. So I got to Kano 1990. And in Kano, it was obvious because of my background, I was immediately entrusted into Christian leadership. I became a leader on campus. And, if I know you too, you went to school in the north. If
Yes, in Zaria, sir.
True at that time in the north, a Christian leader, you become a target of this our Islamic friends. So I became a target for persecution, both from my fellow Islamic students and even from the lecturer. So that also got me, a bit close to some of the big ministers that were in town. Then we had, Reverend Bello, now is Bishop Bello. I became so close to him. We have Elemobo, of the new generation in Kano, I'm so close to them, and that also made me to become a bit known, in Zaria, Kaduna, because we're always taking our cases to some of these ministers. So, I became a bit known in that area, and practically by the grace of God was able to finish my
wow. Praise God, praise God.
In Kano before we left the place.
Oh, okay. I thought you pastored in Kano, sir. Did you
no,
work?
no. Now, what happened was before I came to Kano, like I said, I had developed, friends here in Lagos. So I was already a founding member of a particular church at First Stack.
Oh,
at First Stack here. So, but my going to school, kind of took me off the picture. So it was when I finished my program in school, after service, that the bishop reached out to me, in Kano, that he believes that God has spoken to him for me to come and join them and pioneer or work for them outside of the country. So that was eventually why we actually left Kano, because after my program in Kano, after my service, we just settled. I got married, took my wife to Kano, and we were, part of a redeemed church. But at this time, I was doing like an itinerary, ministry. I was just going about Jos as at that time. Kano.
All right, sir. I hope you wouldn't mind telling us about this pastor or this bishop who invited you to come and tell his name, how eventually you got interested into ministry, and probably how you went out of the country. If you can give us a background to that, sir.
Yeah, well, the pastor now is a bishop. Then he was a pastor. That invited me to join him. Is Bishop Benino. Yeah, it's a well-renowned name. Then the headquarters of the church that time was at at First Time. What is it called again? The Communion Bible Church. That is the Communion Bible Church, Bishop Benino. So I joined them, and shortly afterwards, I was asked to go and pioneer their work in the Gambia. That's a West African nation. Here it's a small nation, and we were there. I think we left for the Gambia 1997. I think 1997. I think it was 1997 that we left for the Gambia. Now we got there and planted the church in the Gambia in a thriving part of, the country. And in a few years, in a few years, we were able to grow the church to becoming one of the largest congregation in the nation
Wow.
at the time. It became
Wow.
something big there. I remember there in Gambia, there were, aside, the communion church, we had Redeemed Church, another friend of mine who had come to plant a church there. We also
Okay.
had the Living Faith Church, that is Bishop Odego's church, who came,
Okay.
a bit later than I had gotten there. And then there was
Okay.
one indigenous pastor there was also doing well. So about four churches there, they were really doing well, and were able to grow that church, and it became something uh,
Mm.
in the place. And remember, by the time we got there, I had mastered all the Pentecostal, charismatic, gimmicks and ideas and practices. And also I also need to point out that around this time also,
Yes.
the wars around Sierra Leone and Liberia, were still fresh. I mean, they were just coming out of
Oh,
war.
yeah.
So a lot of these people, the Sierra Leoneans and the Liberians, who were just coming out of the devastation and the pain,
Yes.
caused by the war into Gambia, and many of these people, you know, were Christian, Liberian, Sierra Leone, they're Christian nations. They have this Christian um, background. So it was so easy. These brethren who were coming in were looking for some form of, healing and uh, for from what they had just gone through. So it was so easy, with the influence of these Liberians and Sierra Leoneans to practically impact them and make the church grow very quickly. So we just
Mm.
kicked into this, and within a matter of time, the church became, you know, very big, and
Mm.
somehow we're able to attain, we attain celebrity status in the
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
and with that came more opportunities to to preach and reach the other parts of the environs around Gambia, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. So that gave us an opportunity to be able to reach these
Mm.
places also in the Gambia.
Okay. Okay, sir. I remember that sometimes when you share your story, of course, there are
Yeah.
some details that are not necessary for our interview, but you also tell us about while you were in Gambia, you met with some very prominent ministers from Nigeria. You have
Yeah.
mentioned the fact that you had gained celebrity status. I know that you are
Yes.
also very careful not to
Yeah.
blow your trumpet, but this is just for the records and for those who are listening. What were the type of ministers you met, and probably maybe the kind of lifestyle and things, if things you feel you can share in this interview, sir? From Nigeria, ministers you met from Nigeria, maybe out of the country also, and so on.
Yeah. Let me just say that the perceived success in quote, and the breakthrough in quote that we had in Gambia, kind of open us up, for this lifestyle you just talked about, open us up
Mm.
for more invitations and opportunities to meet quite a number of people, and
Mm.
gave me an opportunity to to travel around, not just within Africa or even outside, to preach the gospel. Yes, I met quite a lot of people, quite a lot of prominent ministers, some of them, still very much active in ministry today. I don't know. Like you said, we're trying to be careful. We're trying not to uh,
Soil
blow a
people's names.
trumpet here, but I am not sure there is a frontline minister today, uh, that I have not sat in the same room, wheat in Nigeria. If there are, maybe they will be by the fingertips. I mean, some of these are pioneer uh, uh, Pentecostal ministers who started this movement in Nigeria. If I'll just mention one, I
Okay.
know you are aware. I'm sure you know quite well of a lady. They call what's her name? Uh, she used to be called a prophet to the nation. What's her name? Cindy Jacobs.
Oh, okay.
Cindy Jacobs. I met with her. Um, Developed a kind of a relationship with her. Began to follow her. In fact, she played a key part into my role then, because there was a program that she had in Dakar, Senegal.
Okay.
It was a coming together of so-called prophets, African
Mm.
prophets. It was a gathering of prophets then in Senegal, Dakar, and it was at that meeting she brought me out and prophesied over me and spoke into my life and said that God was elevating me from the status of being a local prophet into an
An international
international
one.
prophet.
Wow.
So we the breakthrough in code there quite opened us up to these kind of opportunities where we're able to meet quite a lot of people, both in Nigeria and outside.
All right, sir. Okay, sir. And so the very next question I want to begin to touch on, I know it's in stages. I'm going to try to make my question help you to remember those stages. Okay,
Okay.
but the very next question is, how then did you become a reformed Christian? I don't know how much of the crisis you went through in Gambia you want to share, but I know that's the main question now. How do you become a reformed minister? Then the next question will be how you return to Nigeria to join Crown Reformed Assembly.
Now, maybe I should start maybe in the Gambia.
Okay, sir.
The breakthrough in court that we had in the Gambia, you
Yes, sir.
know, this great success, that
Yes.
you have a young man at the peak of his ministry, is flying everywhere. I mean, that's how they define success there. Um,
Mm,
it kind of, in actual sense, kind of brought me into a most dangerous spiritual state anybody could ever be in.
mm,
It's a time where you would think and assume that you are above the law, literally,
mm,
that you cannot be touched and that you can do anything and get away with it. You become close to any form of spiritual accountability. So
mm.
it's a most dangerous place to be. And so at that time when we were in the Gambia, we kind of got to a place where we felt that we have reached the ceiling of the uh, the growth and the expansion that the nation could afford us, and we wanted more. We
Okay.
wanted to
Okay.
explore more, wanted to experience more, and that was the drive. That was what gave birth to the the our move to Europe, So
Okay, sir.
eventually, we felt that we had, conquered Africa. We wanted more, and I began to feel. I think this sense of, emptiness on the inside, in spite of the great success, in spite
Really?
of the now celebrity status that one was getting into, in
Mm,
spite of the many people you are coming to meet, and the invitations that were coming, there was this spiritual emptiness on the inside.
wow.
This, this thinking that, look, that no matter what you think you have attained, it's not as a result of um, your inward, spiritual state and walk with God, but it's
Mm,
how crafty, how wise you are, how manipulative and skilled and
mm,
charismatic you are in your ability to, to take scriptures, interpret it in the way the Pentecostals understand it, and make people to see it and embrace it as such. So by the time we left Gambia, this this emptiness was already setting in.
Mm.
Now, getting to Europe, things began to happen to us very quickly. Very quickly. I started to get a bit tired of the whole, circle of ministry. I think I must say now that the Lord permitted few things to happen to me when we got to Europe that eventually, led to my exit of the Pentecostal movement. One, I will say this, that we went with the idea that we're going to replicate the kind of success we've been able to have in the Gambia. So we went with that thinking that within a short while,
Okay.
the whole place was going to blow up again and we're going to make a name for ourselves. But when we got there, things, didn't go as we had anticipated,
Mm.
and that in itself was, becoming uh, becoming a challenge for me. I had done everything I knew to do
Mm.
as taught,
Yes, sir.
Pentecostal, upbringing. I had done all the prophetic prayers.
Mm.
I had learned to do as a prophet to the nations. I had, done everything. Nothing seemed to be working at this time.
Mm.
Then to compound issues for me, I became, I felt
Oh.
seriously sick. One in Holland, it was so serious that I almost lost my life, and that
Wow.
again was another challenge for me that defied my word of faith theology, because I
Mm.
believed then
Yes.
in
Divine healing.
divine healing and all that. All my friends and my mentors then that I tried to reach out to for prayers were all, giving me counsels I was not ready to receive
Mm.
at that time. So that was there. And
Yes.
then, I also had my wife also at that time lost both of our parents. So all these things were challenging
Oh.
our faith and our confession of faith. And then, what became the topping on the cake, for me and for my wife was a particular brother, back in Africa then, who now began. This was a brother that we were very close to. His, we had shared pulpit together. Was prominent man of God then. I wouldn't want to mention names at this time. He began to
Okay,
say
sir.
and to do things that were not really true about us. Practically doing things to put us into kind of a trouble in the new
Okay.
place, in Holland, where we have found ourselves. So for me,
Okay.
it became really,
Hello. Hello, Pastor. Are you hearing me?
frustrating. Became really frustrating. Everything happening at the same time. Um,
Hello, Pastor. Can you hear me, sir?
My illness, the church wasn't doing well.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir?
Losing our parents both at the same time, and then who now is coming up began to challenge my began to doubt the whole setup. I have known so well that we do these things together. I wonder if anybody. Wow.
Hello, Pastor Arimoro. Can you hear me, sir?
Oh.
Hello, sir. Hello. Hello. Okay. If you are joining us, I seem to have lost Pastor Arimoro, so I'm going to try to get across to him. This will be our part one, the part one of our program. I'll stop the recording and then we'll basically start from where how he got to Europe and began to have and he encountered this illness and began to have some challenges. Okay, so we'll be back after. You can just watch the second video.